Hi everyone, I'm Gopesh, and this summer I was a software engineer intern at Microsoft Seattle. And in this video, I'll share the application process, my interview experience, and my key takeaways and tips on how you should prepare for your interviews. I'm going to share about the application process. So Microsoft usually open applications in rounds. I've seen that they open software engineer roles, systems, data science, applied machine learning roles, cloud interns, hardware interns, and product managers, technical product managers, and even this year they have added some data analytics roles as well. So I applied for software engineering, TPM, and applied machine learning roles last year, and I did not have a referral. Trust me, I'm not lying. And if anyone else who has worked at Microsoft, they know how the referral system is not as impactful as a good resume and application is. This is because a lot of people get the hang of referrals at Microsoft. They find someone who can refer them, and then if you look from a recruiter standpoint, they get thousands of applications, and of those thousands of applications, there are hundreds of applications that come through a referral system, and there is no internal referral tracking that if you're getting a referral from a CVP or a VP or a senior software engineer or a principal engineer, so you're going to be placed, your referral is going to have more impact, which is my understanding, because trust me, I have applied to Microsoft both with and without referrals, and the interview that I got was without referral. I applied when the applications opened in September, didn't hear back, lost all hope about getting an interview from Microsoft. And next year in 2025, a recruiter reached out to me saying that they had added a new position. A new position meant they had added 2 more intern roles because there were some new teams that were started in January 2025, and they were also looking for interns. And they said that this is going to be extremely competitive because it's just 2 positions. And then they mentioned that I'm only going to be interviewing for the Redmond, Seattle location. So if I'm not interested in that, they won't be able to move forward. I don't mind any location, honestly. And I was super thrilled that I got this opportunity. After my phone screen, I was invited to a super day kind of thing, which is like 2 technical interviews back to back with 15-minute break in between. Now let's talk about the interviews. My first technical round was the Leetcode style and algorithms round. One thing that I have noticed about Microsoft is that they don't usually just want you to solve the problem. They're not super into the best optimized results as long as you're doing it in an acceptable runtime, which is generally anything less than of n squared is acceptable, unless it is a backtracking or like a 2D matrix problem in which you have to traverse through the entire 2D matrix. But my question was more inclined towards hash maps and stack. So for me, I was looking at a solution in linear time, and we used the hash map to optimize the runtime further. They also ask you about the implementations of algorithms, implementations of different data structures, and how you will create your own classes for those data structures. So when I used a hash map to solve that question with stack, my interviewer, after I was able to solve the question, they actually asked me, well, in Python you have dictionary, but what if you were to create your own hash map class? How will you go about that? And honestly, I had read on Reddit about these things that Microsoft asks you about data structure and algorithms implementations. I wasn't expecting one, to be honest. I was preparing for Leetcode tag questions at Microsoft, and there's no question about hash map implementation. But these are like the general follow-ups that make them understand more about the candidate, because they might give you a question. They usually give like modified questions of those similarly tagged Leetcode problems. So they might give you a question that was already tagged on Leetcode and you must have done it before, or you might have done it before, and then you just did it again during the interview. But that does not reflect your technical competency. That does not reflect how you think about a problem that you've never encountered before. That just reflects that you're a hardworking person, you are a smart person who prepared, and you utilized that preparation into the interview, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that I'm against this thing. I literally did the same thing. But my question wasn't something that I had done before, and I was surprised that it was not part of the tag questions. But I would say that it is still beneficial to do those. So the hash map implementation that my interviewer asked me, was just a way to see if I have a basic understanding about data structures and algorithms. In some of the methods that I implemented within that hash map class, my interviewer also asked me to reduce the time complexity to O of 1. That was one of the tricky parts of the interview. But as soon as I was done with that, I could see that my interviewer was impressed with me, and they said that that's it for this interview. I've also read that it is not always true that the interviewer is going to tell you how the interview went, but if you're able to solve the question, I mean, it's pretty much the case that they're going to recommend you. And sometimes you also get the vibe. My interviewer was a super nice person, and they were just willing to share that information with me. But nevertheless, I had my 15-minute break, and then I had my another Microsoft interview scheduled. For the second Microsoft interview, from what I have read online and from what I heard from other interns in my cohort this year, it could be a behavioral interview. It could be another Leetcode style interview. It could be a Leetcode plus system design, or it could be just a system design interview. So it is completely abstract. And I've also read that things have started changing this year, so I will also share that towards the end. For me personally, my interview involved a Leetcode style problem. It was an easy Leetcode problem, easy Leetcode Microsoft Stack problem, and I was able to finish that up in 10 minutes. And I thought, oh, this is it, I'm done. Which is when I realized that they gave me that easy problem on purpose because they had planned a system design interview question afterwards. So I had done a project with Snapchat before, and they saw that project on my resume, and then they started grilling me on that for the next 5 minutes. And then they were like, okay, you talked about Snap Lens Studio, which is a very niche product of Snapchat, which is used to design lenses. Basically, a lot of creators use it to customize Snap lenses, add different segmentation layers and stuff. And I had also personally used it and coded lenses on it during my project with Snapchat. So they just said, okay, let's do like a system design question and design the Snap Lens Studio. And then I was caught off guard initially because I wasn't expecting someone to design Snap Lens Studio, because in the first place, not a lot of people already know about it, and people who know about it don't know what the actual tech stack is. They designed the entire infrastructure, and then I had 30 minutes left in my interview, for my second interview, when they gave me this question, and then we opened up like a whiteboard where I was drawing, and it was like more of like a discussion based. That's how I think usually most of the system design rounds are. So it was more of like a discussion based system design round where I was designing what kind of input does the system accepts, what kind of infrastructure pipeline is there a load balancing algorithm involved, are we dividing it into multiple microservices for different components, what kind of vertical or horizontal scaling are we talking about, how can we make it more robust, what kind of trade-offs are there if you're indexing the database based on a particular parameter, will partitioning help, all those kinds of things. And I drew the initial, I would say the high-level design, and then we were discussing individual components. And this is something that I'm sharing because that was something straight off my resume that they just asked me to design that. So a key tip, if you have a project on your resume, if you have worked on a technology before, I would recommend that you should know the design component of that technology. You should know stuff like caching algorithms, load balancing algorithms, message queues, databases, database optimization techniques, system optimization techniques, all those kinds of things, at least to some extent, or have like a high-level overview. I would recommend System Design Primer as the best resource to anyone trying to prepare for these interview rounds. They have a more curated list of common system design questions, and usually how those kind of question works. That knowledge from System Design Primer can be easily replicated and utilized for questions like the one I was asked during my interview. And afterwards, they asked me questions about cloud technologies and my experience with AWS and Azure, because I was specifically interviewing within the Azure core org. I was aware of that. Usually interns aren't. But they asked me about we literally had a conversation about trade-offs between AWS and Azure, and then they were also a little impressed because at my first internship when I was using AWS, I had the pricing plan memorized because I used to talk a lot about how much money I'm making my company spend by working on AWS Glue and Redshift, and then I used to monitor that log every single day. So I was aware of the metric and the cost. I wasn't aware for Azure, but I was aware for AWS. And then my interviewer and we were able to have a conversation about that as well. So these small things, they generally show that you're interested about the company, you're interested about the domain, and you're interested about technology in general. Just make them feel that you are a person worth willing to spend the next summer with, and that you are you're an actual human being, not some computer who has just memorized those answers, memorized those Leetcode problems, memorized those system design principles and fundamentals, and just are here to clear the interview. You want to make that personal connection because that goes a long way in getting an offer. Now let's talk about reflection and what could have gone better. Honestly, I'm sharing this advice with you because I want you to not get caught off guard with a kind of question that I got. So it is always beneficial to not just practice system design based on usually asked problems or designing Twitter, designing tiny URL, those kind of questions, or and I would say try to have that system design mindset about basically breaking things down into smaller parts to understand how that individual component interacts with the remainder of the system. I think that is one of the most endorsed advice that I got this summer at Microsoft, to basically understand individual components of a system, of a service, and see how they're interacting with each other, understanding how an individual service, how an individual component of that service is working. Just like pure system design, software engineering advice from software engineers, my mentor, principal software engineers that I got at Microsoft this summer. And I cannot stress it enough for even interview rounds, because it just shows your technical competence, and it just like gives you that edge above other candidates who have just prepared regular system design interview questions. Lastly, I would say this year I have found out that Microsoft has added an online assessment, a HackerRank timed online assessment, 2 Leetcode easy medium questions. So I would say practice Leetcode problems, and then also spend some time on HackerRank to familiarize yourself with the platform, so that you have the best chance of doing and solving those questions in time, and you don't spend time wondering how the system or how the UI of HackerRank looks like, or how it works, basically, just so that you can maximize your chances of doing good on the HackerRank. I've seen people who got in interviews this year cleared, solve both those questions in 30 minutes. So maybe keep that in mind for assessments for Microsoft. And then, interestingly, this year, one of the candidates that I read about has mentioned that they were given a timed 30-minute problem in their first technical round, where the interviewer allowed AI tools as assistive tools to actually write a small feature for the service that the engineer worked on. So it's something like you will be given some background information about the service, and then you will be asked to implement a new feature into that service, and you will be given about 30 minutes to do that. And that thing becomes super easy when you are able to understand how things work and how you can fit in your additional feature into the existing service, which I was talking about before. And then they give you the choice to use your own CLI, any assistive tool that you like, Copilot, GPT, and then you code in a text editor. And then I'm still a student, I'm still learning. I learned a lot this summer, I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm just trying to put everything that I found out during the process, that I shared, that I learned, and I just want to keep it with you guys. I want you guys to have everything that you can to prepare and have the best interview process ever. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Drop down your questions in the comments section, and trust me, I will reply to each and every single one of those comments. And if you have any personalized question, you can reach out to me on Instagram, on GopherGopesh. I'm usually more responsive on the weekends. That's it from me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.